Welcome to Good Game, your no BS insights for crypto founders.
It's like we're going back to the early days of
the OG.
When I got into crypto and when you got into
vision.
crypto.
Yeah.
We used to see these ideas all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened. There was New Cypher, if you remember that.
What happened is a few things. One, crypto attracted the wrong people. These products that I just talked about, like messaging, the mesh network, these are not going to make you rich within a few months. It takes a long time. Like the Session app, it took them 6 years. They've been building this for 6 years.
Yeah.
Like this time product is not something you can get rich very quickly. Looking for your next startup idea in crypto? Check out our request for startups list and get inspired at alliance.xyz/ideas.
So we're at Token2049. Qiao and I have spent a few days here, and think it's been pretty fun. There's been an incredible amount of founders. I'd say this event, I'd probably seen more founders than I have VCs.
Has that always been the case in other crypto conferences? I don't go to a lot of them, so I don't really know.
Well, yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel it.
Okay.
Apparently, there's about 20,000 people that have signed up to come to this event.
Oh my God.
20,000 crypto guys and girls that came to this event. Every place that I've went to is slammed.
Yeah.
And in parallel to this, there's a F1 race, so there's just a ton of traffic everywhere we go.
Yeah. The flight I booked is the most expensive flight I've ever booked, and then the hotel as well.
But that's just because
everyone just came here. Sure.
My flight wasn't that bad in terms of price, but overall, I think the event's been great, and we're getting ready to head to Breakpoint, Solana Breakpoint as well. So I'm pretty excited about that. What are some interesting trends that you've seen so far here? And we did a founders therapy session yesterday. Spent an hour and a half talking to, let's say, 30 random founders that joined our event, which we did kind of last minute.
Yeah.
And so it kind of gives you a good spectrum of what people are working on. And so there's some interesting ideas. So curious on what your thoughts are, but I think the one that I think there are a couple. Some are building consumer. I still see consumer as a vertical. Tokenization, like RWAs.
Okay.
As two.
From the panels or from the founders who talked?
Just the founders at our confessions, our feedback session.
Therapy session.
What else? I'd say consumer. I'd say in consumer specifically, I've seen prediction markets.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other one? Yeah, I can't think of it right now, but I saw a couple of prediction markets, and then social networks and RWAs and some infra, like the layer one that wants to build the hyperliquid competitor.
Mm.
Yeah. So it seems like in terms of ideas, I don't think I've seen anything really net new.
No, I did. I've seen many good ideas.
Do you feel like we're hitting a ceiling in terms of ideas?
I think across the industry, yes, but you and I have a lot of ideas.
We do.
There aren't enough founders to work on that we can find to work on these ideas.
That's right.
But it seems to me that DePIN is now the shelling point of narrative, because people ran out of ideas, and every time crypto runs out of idea, we just pick a narrative to
just pivot to something,
become the shelling point. And right now that shelling point is DePIN.
So like what in DePIN? So are just people pointing to Helium?
I think Helium is the biggest one.
Yeah. Is it because of the success of the mobile network?
Data offloading.
Huh?
Data offloading
from like T-Mobile and other carriers.
Yeah.
Which is directly tied to the token, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there are some pretty strong use cases around.
Do you think Helium has product market fit?
They're slowly getting into product market fit. I mean, like, they do have product market fit. I think what I'm less sure about is the entire network that they're building on the back end, right? So an example of the data offloading, I think that's very strong. But the question is, could they how much could they handle in terms of bandwidth, in terms of offloading the data, right? I'm unsure.
There is a new narrative that I heard
Okay.
called PayFi.
Yeah.
Have you heard? Have you seen
Huma,
it?
right?
Huma, yeah.
Huma, yeah.
Do you know how that works?
It's like it's like a lender, right? That lends like short-term loans to
between companies,
between companies.
Short-term corporate loans.
Yes. And so, I did hear about this.
Yeah.
And there are startups that need this type of like short-term lending, such as on and off ramps.
Yeah.
They're like a big customer.
I met the founder last night, but I need to catch up with him on the details of what he's building. But I think the high-level thesis or idea is that by leveraging crypto rails, you can reduce the time of settlement, basically.
Yeah. Because you could instant settle.
You can instant settle the loans, and so that reduces the or improves the capital efficiency of between the companies lending to each other.
I mean, it is an interesting narrative,
and apparently they're close to becoming net profitable.
Interesting.
Yeah. So they're like they have real users and they're solving real problem. And it's on Solana.
It's on Solana. Who are the like customers that they're servicing?
I don't know exactly. I need to catch up with the founder today. But that's one I'm paying attention to. That's probably the most interesting one I've seen that's solving a real use case. There's a couple other ones that I talked to that I found interesting. One is building like Signal, an alternative to Signal.
Yes.
It's called Session.
Mm-hmm.
You actually showed me the app 2 years ago.
Yes.
We tried it. But the onboarding was pretty bad.
It was really bad back then.
But now it's pretty good. Like the onboarding is pretty seamless. And the idea is a stronger privacy guarantee than Signal, apparently. I don't understand the technical details yet, but they do some onion routing in order to hide. Yeah. So when you send messages to each other, they onion route the messages through an onion network. It's like a Tor, right? But specifically designed for messaging. And then the idea is to hide your IP address. Because apparently IP address is something that Signal has access to. They say they don't store your information, but you have to trust them on that. So the onion routing effectively hides the IP address. And they do some other stuff with phone number as well. They try to hide your phone. Apparently, phone number is a weakness in Signal as well, because Signal stores a encrypted version of your phone number in their database, a mapping between your phone number and your public key. So that's.
Didn't they also had an exploit recently, or there was something went on with Signal?
Yeah, there was some FUD a few months ago where
the Mac client.
Someone called them out for. So someone tried. So their Signal is open source. Yeah. So someone downloaded the code. Yeah. Tried to run the server side code.
Yeah.
And then realized that it doesn't work. I don't know the details, but apparently it didn't work. So apparently, effectively, Signal is not running the version of the code that is public, that is open source.
Oh.
So that's
kind of shady.
Yeah, it's shady. Again, I haven't verified that information. I just got this. I heard this from from the Session team.
So there could be a backdoor.
There could be a backdoor. But Session is interesting. It's apparently they have like 1 million daily active users.
And how many? 2 million or
1 million. 1 million. And they think they don't know who the users are exactly, but they think that most of the users are not crypto natives. They're people, everyday people who actually need privacy. So one time they got a message from the Switzerland government and saying like, hey, we love what you guys are building. Switzerland, by the way, Switzerland is like one of the few European countries who's very big on privacy.
Why is that?
I don't know, like maybe historical reason. Like Switzerland has always been this, neutral play. Also, like they're very big on banking privacy, right? Like that's why all the rich people store their money in Swiss
I
banks.
just created a sessions account in 10 seconds.
Yes, onboarding is very good.
The onboarding is great.
Yeah.
It doesn't ask you for any information.
Yeah. Oh, the onion routing is the DPIN part of the project. So there's like a bunch of nodes route messages through each other, and they're incentivized.
So you have to run a node?
No, you don't need, you as a user,
but you can
run a node and earn some tokens.
Interesting.
1 million daily active user. I mean, it's pretty good.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the Swiss government is apparently using it.
Well, they have to counter. Did you hear about the Mossad like blowing up pagers?
Oh yeah, that was yesterday. What happened there exactly? I wasn't the.
I think they were trying to target like some key Hezbollah.
Who, Israel?
And I guess they did a sting operation where Hezbollah knew that like their phones were compromised no matter what phone they use. So they went to pagers, but it turns out the pagers that they bought was from Mossad.
And the pagers blew up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they were manufactured from Taiwan. And so Taiwan put out a tweet or whatever. They're like, hey, we have nothing to do with this. We just sold the devices. They're one of our licensed partners.
Yeah. And then today, like apparently 20,000 more cell phones or something exploded. Again, like a day after the pagers exploded.
Does it have anything to do with Token2049? But interesting. Is that true?
I saw it on the newspapers this morning.
Interesting. So going back to
I read newspaper.
You still read a
paper, like
the paper?
Yeah.
Do you do that every morning?
No, just here in Singapore, they gave me a newspaper, like a physical paper newspaper.
So that's like Jamie Dimon. Did you watch his?
What did he say?
Every morning he wakes up at 4 a.m. and he reads 12 newspapers from back to front.
That's me this morning. I actually woke up at 4 a.m. because I couldn't sleep.
Oh my God.
Session is interesting, and there's another one. There's a molecule, Bio.xyz, like the DeSci guys, the OG DeSci.
Yeah. How is that?
So they're cooking a new project. It's called the
cooking.
They're
what are they cooking?
They're cooking a pump.science.
Oh.
Pump.science. Effectively, you launch a token on a scientific IP, typically a drug discovery IP.
Okay.
You tokenize it, and then it trades, and then you tokenize it and you raise some money from the crowd, a crowd sale basically, and then it trades, and then there's a token, there's liquidity immediately. The idea is twofold: the fundraising and the liquidity on the IP, immediate liquidity on the IP.
That's cool.
So apparently they have some really good scientists wanting to try this.
So they will launch a token, and let's say that they want to do some DNA research.
Yeah.
So then they'll launch a token. People would buy it. The money that's earned from trading fees would go to or would it be the bonding curve itself?
The design space is still open.
Okay.
But what they're thinking is an actual crowd sale instead of trading fees going back to the creator. But that's all also on the table.
That's interesting.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense to me.
It does.
Like the idea of channeling degen energy into
new science.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense to me. Meme coin, but science.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like meme coins is not the right naming factor for.
It's a terrible naming.
It just really
people draw wrong conclusions because of the name.
And so I do think we need to go through a rebrand when it comes to meme coins.
Yeah, call it intersubjective token.
Third party staking, yield, restaking token.
I haven't heard any restaking so far.
Oh, I got pitched restaking.
You did?
Yeah. Okay. But it was lending.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's another project.
Which one?
That one is building a mesh network of
Bluetooth, right?
Bluetooth and Wi-Fi direct.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea is you can text each other without the internet.
That's
and you
cool.
text each other using the Wi-Fi signal or Bluetooth. Wi-Fi has a max distance of 200 meters.
Yeah.
And then Bluetooth is 30.
So between the two radiuses,
yeah,
you're able to message people.
As long as there's as long as there's a node within 30 meters,
yeah,
you're the user, if you're using Bluetooth, or 200 meters if you're using Wi-Fi, then you can send messages to someone else within the same radius.
Do you think something like this could go big? I could see this definitely in like countries where there's a lot of control.
Yes, that's probably the most interesting use case of this mesh network.
Yeah,
and so in the past there has been many cases of people wanting to organize protests.
Yeah,
like peaceful protests.
Yeah.
And they couldn't do it because the government shut down the internet or the messaging app. So they couldn't self-organize.
It's also happened in Turkey, where they shut down like all the DNS resolvers at one point. So you can't even access the internet.
Yeah. And it happened in Egypt during their revolt. I think probably Hong Kong as well. So
it seems like generally, it's like we're going back to the early days of
the OG.
When I got into crypto and when you got into crypto, we used to see these ideas all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't know what happened. Like, I mean, there was New Cipher, if you remember that.
What happened is a few things. One, crypto attracted the wrong people. I mean, like these products that I just talked about, like the messaging, the mesh network, these are not going to make you rich within a few months. It takes a long time. Like the session app, it took them 6 years. They've been building this for 6 years.
Yeah.
Like this time product is not something you can get rich very quickly.
No, it's like a open source, like model, right? You kind of commit a lot of time. You want to make, like, founders aren't here to get rich quick. They believe in this as a like a core principle. Yeah, and the fact that these technologies are fundamentally anti-government, anti-authoritarian makes it difficult for most founders to jump into this kind of opportunities. Yeah, it just takes a very different kind of founder. Yeah, founder mindset. And then also the centralized exchanges are not gonna. They don't want to fuck with the government. They're not gonna list your token if you have a token. So again, it's hard to get rich quickly if you build this kind of product. So, but I'm really interested. I'm interested in more censorship-resistant products. Yeah, messaging, internet access, domains. The entire stack. The entire stack. DNS is still one of the points of centralization, of censorship, potential censorship. Yeah. What was the project? Oh, there's another one I'm gonna meet tomorrow. That's a decentralized TOR. Forgot the name of the it's called Anyone. Anyone. But it's a decentralized TOR. They want to make TOR great again. But what happened? Like they told me about like TOR. I think it's pretty well known that a big percentage of the TOR nodes are controlled by the CIA and NSA, and in fact, it was a project by the CIA and NSA. So users of TOR effectively have no real privacy when they surf the internet through TOR. So they want to make a new version of TOR. TOR is open source, by the way. Yeah. But they want to make a new version, fix some of the technology stuff, but more interestingly, using token incentives to bootstrap a greater number of nodes so that it becomes more decentralized, less prone to a central entity like CIA and NSA. So some messages could be routed, but not all. Yeah. is the idea.
That one is interesting. I don't know the details yet. I'm going to meet the team in person. But in general, like decentralized Tor / VPN mesh network
Messaging.
of like offline messaging without the internet, and then privacy preserving messaging, like this kind of stuff is super interesting.
Yeah. We've also seen a number of decentralized VPNs as well.
Yeah. But VPN is kind of it's a very crowded space.
I don't think there are winners yet for decentralized VPN. And I think that's primarily because for the average person, there's no real difference that they'll see, right?
Right. Like there's a couple ones I use, like the major ones, right?
Which ones
like,
do you use?
Like Proton and NordVPN. Like these are some of the brand names, and a few other like less well known, but the ones that I use. But the main ones are, the likes of Proton and so there's a few brand name ones, and I think all of them are pretty good product wise, at least from the end user's point of view.
Yeah, I think NordVPN. I did a quick research on this before, but that one instance where they went down, and the decentralized VPN guys, they always argue that they'll never go down. Their uptime is high.
Yeah.
But NordVPN's uptime has been very good over the years.
The uptime is one concern, but the bigger concern is the central point of failure. Like they store a lot of the information about you, and so you have to assume that they aren't compromised.
To be quite frank, I think they're all compromised.
Yeah, I think that's
they're all compromised. I think everyone has a backdoor. It's all compromised. That's the way I think about it. I mean, even if you think about like going back to the Hezbollah example, I mean, these guys I think the president of Iran or there was a situation where like the guy that was negotiating a peace treaty with Israel, that main guy went to go see the president of Iran, and in front of the president of Iran or like around that vicinity, they killed him. Like, how do you even have that? Like, how do you do that, right? In an enemy-controlled environment, you need to have data and control of access points.
Yeah.
So to me, I think the agencies that are out there are very, very, very powerful.
I learned something interesting related to that. I learned something interesting about GPS and like the GPS technology. So apparently every country has their own GPS system.
Okay.
Because they don't want, one of the reasons is they don't want the
outside
their presidents to reveal their like exact location, because it's very, very dangerous. Like the drone attacks, the drones can be very dangerous if they know your exact precision or location.
So I do think we're like, we're in America, and like, there are a lot of things that we take for granted, but then also we do give up a lot in terms of privacy. But I do think we're entering this new world where, people all over the world are going to be. Oh, here's a funny example. So I was watching this TikTok video, and they're interviewing like old mafias, right? And so I was watching this guy who used to be part of. You ever watch the movie Casino with Joe Pesci? Okay, it's a classic. So, long story short, they interviewed this guy, 80 years old, and he's like, "Yeah, the mob, they don't kill people anymore." And the guy asked him why. He goes, "Electronic devices. It's just too hard to hide evidence. Phones, cameras, GPS, all of it." And so we just don't do it anymore. We just have to find other ways to do it. But he also said that, because of that, our power has dwindled. Like, we don't have the power that we used to 40, 50 years ago. So I just thought that was an interesting anecdote that I heard. So I do feel like a lot of our power is going away. Like, I mean, for good, right? There's a lot of good reasons for that, but also bad. So we talked about, it's funny. We just talked about listings, right? Like how decentralized networks probably will not get support. And in fact, they'll probably delist, like what happened with Monero as an example, and Zcash also. I think there could be an interesting angle for an exchange that can list tokens that are unwanted by. I mean, obviously you have Uniswap and others, but like I feel like they could also be controlled.
Hey, I had a quick chat with Kartik, the
ETHGlobal?
the organizer, the guy, the mastermind behind ETHGlobal. He told me that currently the US is still the biggest country
For Hackathon? Or
for
for
hackathon
developers?
for developers, and the number in the US has actually gone up in the last couple of years for ETHGlobal, and that is the total opposite of what we see, because what we see is founders. What Kartik
see
sees
developers.
is hackers
Yeah.
who have a full-time job somewhere else,
Yeah.
most of whom are outside of crypto. They go there for a weekend project, free food, and potentially some money prizes. So the number of hackers actually have gone up in the last couple of years, despite the extremely hostile regulatory regime. And we see the opposite, because we see the number of US-based founders go down dramatically in the last 2 years. That's one data point. And then Japan is apparently one of the top countries for ETHGlobal. And then India as well. India is very consistent with what we see.
Yeah. Japan doesn't make sense to me. I
Japan
don't think
yeah.
I've seen any
Right?
Japanese founders
I've seen a couple, but
talking. Yeah.
that apply to our program. But the thing with I talked to another guy who told me about the ecosystem in Japan. You remember a couple months ago, Sony announced their project.
Sonium. Yeah.
So Sonium, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Sonium, whatever.
Yeah. And apparently the Japanese ecosystem is like one cycle behind the frontier. So they're now playing NFTs, whereas the frontier, like for the frontier, NFTs was like a cycle ago. And they're extremely separate, isolated from the rest of the international crypto ecosystem. And we're talking about why. Like, why is that? And I give a very simple reason, because I know this from first experience.
Yeah.
Talking to the Japanese founders, is that the language barrier is just impossible to overcome. It's very, very hard to communicate with Japanese founders.
But that's also true for other parts of the world, right?
But Japan specifically is very difficult.
I mean, Vietnam is the same. I feel like Vietnam's community is very strong. I mean, Coin98.
Yeah. But most Vietnamese founders I spoke with are pretty good.
Oh no, there's
English.
a language barrier.
There is?
Yeah, it's hard.
Okay. But I mean, the ones that apply to
Yeah.
But
okay, so let's just say there's parts of the world where language is a barrier, and Japan is one of them.
Yeah. But yeah, Japan is one of the top 3 apparently. US, Japan, and India.
Interesting.
For ETHGlobal.
I wonder how much of it is, I'm just curious, like what the demographic breakdown is for Japan, because a lot of the people that come to these hackathons come from other parts of the world.
Correct. So that's the sampling bias. So right now we're talking about, so ETHGlobal does events in many countries across the world. So when they do an event or a hackathon in Japan, it's not necessarily Japanese.
Yeah.
It's actually people flying all around.
And I know
the world.
many that have done that, which is
So there is a bias, simple bias there.
Yeah.
But India is definitely all Indians.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah, you know.
Because
you went there.
I went there last year, and there were 2,500. The largest hackathon ETHGlobal has ever done.
Which city was it?
Bangalore, which is considered Silicon Valley of India.
Yeah.
2,500 devs, of which 2,450 were Indians.
Wait, say that again?
No, it's a joke. But I did see some people outside of India, but it was like I could probably count how many people that were outside of India. So they were all Indians. And so, funny enough, I went to, when I landed 3 days ago in Singapore, CoinDCX, who is the Coinbase of India, hosted like a consumer day. So I was there. I gave a talk. They did like this, like kind of a hacker session, and all of them were Indian, and they all flew in from India for this event.
The one in 2 days
In
ago.
Singapore.
Okay.
So,
I saw a lot of Indians in the last couple of days.
well, Singapore has a lot of Indians generally.
Yeah, but I saw a lot of Indians who flew from India.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, the flight's not bad at all. But yeah, I do think India is an emerging country. So we'll see what comes out of there. But there are some interesting products coming from there.
I had a quick chat with Ajit last night.
I did too.
Our LP.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how Bangalore, like Bangalore has a lot of founders, crypto
Yeah.
founders, but he doesn't think that the best ideas come out of there. He wants the Indian founders who are based in India, in Bangalore, to spend like 3 months in New York to get closer to the forefront.
Yeah.
That's what he told me, but I don't have a strong view there.
I just think that most of the Indians that I've spoken to, they all want to build a startup, but I don't think they have real world startup experience. So they're like net new devs. They're like hackers. Mm-hmm. Hackers that want to be startup founders is the way I see that archetype. Mm-hmm. So I think it's less about spending time in New York. Like you could spend 3 months in New York, that's fine. But I think they just need to cut their teeth and start startups, fail, and then learn like what it is that it takes to build a great startup. Mm-hmm. So I think it's more experience. But
did you see Vitalik sing the song?
Yeah, he was singing a song, and then everyone said ETH again.
Do you agree?
I don't know. I really don't know what Vitalik's doing with songs and dancing. That's just the.
It wasn't very founder mode of him.
No, it was.
It was
very. Go ahead, say it. Say it.
No.
Say it.
It was not very founder mode.
Say it.
It was manager mode.
Huh?
No, it was not even manager. It was Yeah, it was not even manager mode. Neither founder mode or manager mode.
It was. Yeah, it was a mode.
It was a mode.
It was a mode. I don't know. Maybe he does these things to go viral, but.
There was another funny tweet about how ETH-BTC went down 25% since Vitalik got a girlfriend.
That he got a girlfriend?
There's rumors of him getting a girlfriend a few months ago. ETH-BTC down only.
That's great.
But overall, what do you feel about the market?
Yeah, let's talk about the market. 50 bips. Mr. Fuck your puts, Powell.
Fuck your calls, fuck your puts. J Powell has you by the balls.
He has everyone by the balls.
J Powell is a winner. I love this guy. I don't know.
He would be a part of our program. If he was to apply, I would take him in.
He's a founder mode.
He's founder mode.
He's founder mode.
He's founder mode.
He's really entertaining. I love him. Yeah. I love this guy. And I think he handled the economy really, really well. Yeah. Last couple, like he completely screwed up in 2021, 2022 with the inflation.
Do you think that's because of Trump, by the way?
Oh, for sure. Trump should be blamed. Yeah. At least partially for the inflation. Yeah. I think Biden should be blamed as well because Biden printed like $2 trillion when the economy was rebounding in 2022. But Trump was the one who opened the floodgate in 2021. No one before him printed that much money, even close to that much money. Like he printed $3 trillion.
It's insane
at the bottom of COVID. That like he should be blamed for sure for the inflation. And back then J Powell was partially a puppet for Trump wanted to control the Federal Reserve.
Yeah. And he did through like tweets and like
he did.
Like there's like internal badgering, then there was external tweeting.
Yeah.
Which I think influenced his decision. But
J Powell, man, in the last 2 years, he fucking engineered the most incredible soft landing / no landing of all time.
Yeah.
No one expected him to achieve that.
I think the market's still confused by that.
Market is still confused.
Everyone's confused. I think everyone is confused.
Yeah.
Including myself.
I think it's very bullish.
Yeah.
50%. The rate cut cycle is going to be very bullish.
Yeah. I think it's going to take time for the market to digest.
Yeah. Hopefully there's no recession. I don't have a view there. You show me the one where Peter Thiel said he was.
Yes,
He
yeah,
thinks
yeah.
a
So I was
recession.
listening to the All In Pod, which is a great. So they had the summit where they had Peter Thiel, they had who else? They had Travis Kalanick,
And JD Vance.
JD Vance, some really strong speakers.
Someone told me I met a guy last night. And he went to the All In Summit. He said it was like the Republican convention.
Oh my God, pretty much.
Pretty much.
So Thiel said, my base case or my contrarian view is that Trump gets elected, but he'll underperform.
Underperform what? In
He'll
what
just
sense?
underperform from what he's mentioned. So,
but-
so economy will underperform.
Sure.
And so all the things that he said he would do, it'll never hit. It won't hit. He also said, too, if Kamala and Trump are neck and neck, Kamala's going to win because they will cheat or fortify.
Yeah.
Because he had to clean himself up after that.
Yeah.
And I think that's consistent with what we know. Like we've talked to other like large liquid managers and fund managers, and they all feel the same way that if that there's someone's putting more weight, like Kamala, like people are putting weight behind Kamala.
Okay.
Like the big money, the corporate
Sure. Yeah.
sponsors, they're putting their weight behind Kamala, and you could see this in the news as well, right?
Yeah.
And so there's that, and then he went on to say that overall, I just think that, and then he was also very bearish AI.
Yeah.
Like you could just tell, like he was done with AI.
He said AI is right now. AI is the equivalent of the dot-com bubble in 2000.
Yeah. He's like, who's making money? He goes, the only people that are making money is NVidia.
Yeah, he said NVidia is making over 100% of all the revenue, meaning everyone else is losing
money. He goes, everyone's just rappers of rappers, and NVIDIA's and then he went on to say, like, you should be building an open AI competitor. You should be building an NVIDIA competitor.
Yeah.
Which I agree with.
NVIDIA has a lot of startup competitors who are really, really good. Yeah. I think NVIDIA is facing a lot of competition from, number one, all these startups that are launching like super hardcore hardware, ASICs, that are specialized for AI training and inference.
Interesting.
And they're very well funded. NVIDIA is GPU. It's not really specialized.
It's generalized.
NVIDIA's mode is the CUDA. It's the software stack.
Software that's on top.
Everyone is used to using the CUDA to develop the AI software. And the CUDA is probably their biggest mode. But pure hardware-wise...
The other moat that Thiel said is that they've been around since 93.
Sure.
Lindy.
Yeah. Lindy, the brand. And another less well-known moat is Jensen is friends with the CEO of TSM, the
fabrication,
the fabs, basically. And TSM helped NVIDIA a lot when NVIDIA struggled a few years. NVIDIA actually struggled
for
at least twice.
Time. Yeah.
At least twice in the last few years. The second time was when Ethereum moved from a proof of work to proof of stake. So all the GPUs became useless.
Yeah, but they also made a strategic decision to do that too. I think and I remember they were hiding the sales under, like when they did their filing.
Yeah.
For the quarterly reporting, they hid the crypto miners under general sales.
Yeah.
And that threw people off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So NVIDIA is facing a ton of competition from all the competitors, the startup competitors, but also from their own customers. The biggest customers being Facebook, Google, Amazon, Microsoft.
They have to build their own.
They're all building their own because they don't want to rely too much on NVIDIA because they're paying too much money. Like exactly what Peter Thiel said. Like everyone's paying so much money to NVIDIA. So Google TPU, for example, is Google works with a Broadcom to develop their TPU, which is a specialized version hardware for AI.
It's a commodity, right? At this point,
no, not at all.
Meaning, like once they develop their own GPUs, then it's
No, it's far from being a commodity.
Tell me more.
Because it's commodity is usually something that doesn't improve over time.
Oh, in that case, yes.
The AI
yes.
hardware, like it improves extremely fast.
Yes.
Like every 6 to 12 months, NVIDIA launches a new generation of GPUs, and the old ones become obsolete. And everyone is playing this.
Well, so the way I see it is just like, if you just look at like Intel chipsets, AMD, they're all neck to neck.
Yeah.
Right. So from that perspective, I see it as over time, if you have the same infrastructure, then it's more or less a commodity.
Yeah.
Is the way I see it. In terms of like performance, I think it's gonna get upgraded every year or 2 years. But in terms of developing and manufacturing, it's gonna become a commodity.
Personally, on the AI side, I only hold TSM.
Yeah. That's probably the best at this point.
Yeah.
Because they'll get the business no matter what.
Yeah. Except if there's a war in the next 4 years in the Taiwan Strait, then it's over. But then if there's a war in the Taiwan Strait in the next 4 years, then TSM is the last thing I worry about. There's going to be
World War.
Maybe not World War, but like a conflict in the Taiwan Strait is going to be worse than Ukraine, Russia, and Israel, Palestine. It's probably going to be 10x worse.
Well,
because then we're talking about a real.
Well, it adds to the global conflict, right? I mean, there's already like proxy wars happening.
But then it's going to be a direct conflict between the two superpowers. Yeah. It's no longer a proxy war anymore.
Yeah.
Russia, Ukraine is the number one superpower against the number three, which is a late empire.
Yeah. Late. So what would you consider China? Early?
China is a shit show right now.
Internally, it's all fucked, it seems like.
I talked to many founders, many of whom are crypto founders in the last few years. And I hear this very consistently from every single one of them, that the smartest people are leaving the country.
Well, I mean, okay, I think
you saw that data, like
you tweeted this out.
Yeah,
but if you want to talk about that,
yeah. So the number of companies that are founded in China in the last 10 years. So it peaked in like 18, 19, 20 ish, and then it's been
19, 20, then it's down only. Yeah.
And some people pointed out that the numbers are incorrect. Sure, the absolute value is probably incorrect, but directionally, it is absolutely spot. It's very consistent with all the anecdotes I've collected in the last few years.
So I read through that article, and they make a point by saying that the fund managers, their LPs it's essentially China.
Yeah.
And in China, you have to pay the government back. And so they have this clause in the fund mandate that states that you need to have some sort of clause with your startups that they pay you back. Even if they fail, you have to get paid back. So now it turns out that a lot of these founders are in debt to their LPs. And they're now going after they're garnishing their wages, they're going after their bank accounts, they're going after their family members to get the money. Which
it's hard to believe, but
it's what the article stated.
Yeah.
But I also think it's something even bigger than that. I think it's because Jack Ma got arrested.
Sure, that was big.
Because he was the pinnacle of, to me, like from an outsider, I don't know if this is true internally, but like I think he put the startup world in China on the map.
Yeah.
And I mean, I listened to some of his convos and in the early days of my life, and I thought he was like a pretty big deal in China. And so when you have someone like that gets shut down by the government, then you think to yourself, well, I look up to Jack Ma, and now Jack Ma is silenced because he was trying to open up the startup ecosystem in China. Why would I want to build here?
Yeah, exactly. Even if I become successful, my money is going to be taken away.
Yeah,
and I'm going to be shut down by the government.
So those two things, I think. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's other factors.
There's Jack Ma was a big one. There's many other, like there's the COVID lockdowns in 2022. 2 years after COVID, that was not good. That crushed people's spirit.
Yep.
and the government, the government didn't realize it until there were almost violent protests in the street, at which time it was almost too late.
Yeah.
There's that, and there's of course the big real estate deleveraging in China that crushed the macroeconomy. I talked to 3 Hong Kong residents independently in the last few days, and independently they all tell me that this is the worst they've ever seen in the last 30 to 40 years of Hong Kong in terms of economy. Hong Kong. It's worse than 2009.
Wow.
GFC. So, and one morning I just I saw my tweet. I tweeted out. Most people think Asia is you know the 21st century is Asia's century. I'm not sure about that.
My contrarian thesis is that I think it'll be India.
Here's my counterpoint.
Give me your counterpoint.
India and China started around the same starting point in, call it, in the 1960s, 70s.
Sure.
Similar population, similar GDP. This is a question. This is more of a question than a counterpoint.
I know.
Why has China gone up so much faster than India?
Because China is heavily centralized. Communism, people are all one, which is, I think, a net benefit. And they all kind of align from that perspective.
So you're saying the system works?
It does, right? Obviously, there's negative factors to this, but from that perspective, it does. India, on the other hand, has too many religions, too many dialects. It's harder to get everybody under one mission.
What's the percentage of Hindus?
So there's 1.4 billion, of which I think 300 million are Muslims. So let's say 1.1 billion to 1 billion are, but they're in the Hindus. And then there's Punjabi Sikhs, and there's other.
Sikhs is part of Hindu?
No, they're separate.
Yeah.
And then there's other religions. There's Christianity.
Right.
But
how many is Hindus? What, like 50%, 60%?
I'd say over 60%.
Okay.
But even within Hindus, there's different types of castes, right?
Yeah.
There's different groups. Okay, so here's a perfect example. When British came to conquer India, you know why they were able to conquer India so easily?
Mm-hmm.
Because they were all infighting.
Yeah. That's why they created Pakistan.
Exactly, right? I mean that happened later on, but in the 60s. But it's just that India is so fragmented that it's easier to conquer, at least for them. But then it's also harder to emerge.
So right now, is there a class war between different religions and also different castes within Hinduism?
I'm not sure specifically about Hinduism, but I do know there is different wars happening with different religions.
Okay.
Yeah, within India, there's definitely that.
Yeah.
But then also,
it's like in the U.S., like woke versus.
But India is also not organized. So they're very corrupt. There's a lot of corruption in India.
In the government or?
Government, local government, the farmer. I mean, across the board, there's a ton of corruption.
Yeah.
So Charlie Munger said this famously. He goes, I'm not quoting him.
He said he's more bullish China than India.
Yes, because India is just corrupt.
Yeah.
And then,
but India is corrupt in a decentralized way. China is corrupt in a centralized way.
Exactly. So the corruption happens locally, right?
Yeah.
In India.
Yeah.
So I think from that perspective, India is much more slower in terms of growth. But because now people are realizing China is becoming a nexus for like Foxconn or for Apple and all the manufacturing that's happening in India, they realize that at least the US, they think that they gave too much power to China.
Sure.
So now they're offloading a lot of this into India. So there's a Foxconn in India now.
Yeah.
There's manufacturing companies that are opening up in India. And
Yeah.
Vietnam's also a byproduct of that.
Yeah.
But a lot of this is going to India now. And so I do think India will have a big leg of growth. Okay, here's another interesting.
Yeah, but India is not Asia, though. India is
South Asia.
India is your, you have your own continent.
We do, but we're classified in between, right?
Like historically, Asia is one continent, and India was actually separate.
It was its own, but it kind of got grouped.
And they collided, and
Yeah.
it created the Himalayas.
Yes.
Anyway,
Which-
I'm just.
So, do you consider India Asia?
I'm technically yes, but do you consider you don't call yourselves Asians? You call yourselves Indians.
Yes. You know, we're considered South Asians, but
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of interesting influences like between the border of India and China, like Nepal and Burma, and so there's interesting like Chinese Indian like cuisines and religions and stuff like that I've seen. But I guess going back to
So why do you say India is the future?
I just think India is going to be up for next leg of growth. I don't know.
Oh yeah, sure, yeah. I mean, India is just the trajectory is like they're growing like 10% year on year.
So a lot of growth in India.
Yeah.
In fact, funny enough, my cousin in India owns a
Real estate.
beautician / plastic surgery.
Oh, you have many cousins. You have
I have
like probably 100.
At this point. But she owns a plastic surgery like medical center, whatever you want to call it. And so she only services like high class like people.
Yeah.
Like that's her customer base.
Yeah.
And she's like, I've seen so many people from the villages that are coming in to get their face done, Botox and skin brightening and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And they come in and like they look like they're homeless, but then they pull out and they have wads of cash. She's like, I've never really seen this before. And to me, it's just a sign that the economy is growing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that were in poverty are starting to go up to the middle class.
Yeah.
And my aunt, she just came from India, who visited me a month ago. She's like, Imran, I just bought, like your family members bought a bunch of plots or land in India. Over the past 12 months, it 3x'd in price. I'm like, why didn't you tell me about this? Like, I wanted to buy it.
Yeah.
But so I'm just hearing this stuff from the inside. And to me, it seems like, I don't know.
Yeah, India is doing well.
India's doing really well.
Yeah.
Now, I could see them becoming a part of, I mean, they're already part of the global superpower, but they could have more influence over time. All right. We're at time. I have to do this podcast with Ansem, Iggy, and Joe McCann.
What time?
I got to be there by 11 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
So, like everywhere we go,
the Shitcoin panel.
it's a shitcoin panel.
Yeah. You, Iggy, Ansem, and McCann?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, the Shitcoin panel.
It's a shitcoin panel. What should we talk about? What do you want to hear?
I want to get alphas. Which? Actually, I want to know what Iggy's plans are for Mother.
Okay. Iggy plans for Mother.
Yeah.
Because I feel like she's the first celebrity token that has some legs.
And the only one so far, I think.
And we were bullish. Remember, 4 episodes ago, we talked about why Iggy could be.
I mean, she's still working on it, which is incredible. Yeah. Although the press has been.
No, it did well. Obviously, from 100 mil to now, it went to like 20 mil. Now it's sitting around 50 mil.
Yeah.
But things are looking pretty good. She ended up she's not speaking at the salon event either. You hear about the drama.
What happened?
She wanted some dancers to come and dance before her talk or whatever. They wouldn't allow it.
Why not?
I don't know. So she's kind of upset about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want to know what's the future of Mother token? Some alpha. What else?
I'm curious what she thinks of OnlyFans. Because yesterday or last week, I did some research on OnlyFans versus athletes. I showed you the stats. The top 5 OnlyFans creators earn as much money as the top athletes of any sports. So that includes Cristiano Ronaldo, Messi, Steph Curry, and a couple others in other sports. But anyway, the OnlyFans creators earn as much money as Ronaldo. And apparently, so Iggy is actually one of the top 5 earners. I didn't realize. I didn't even know
that.
her until like she
So
did.
ask her what. So what does she think about it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like why? Like what's the thing with OnlyFans?
Cool. All right. Well, that's we're at time. I know we have to record our pod with Nick Carter coming up on Saturday. That'll be fun. But yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time. As always, the views expressed in the Good Game podcast are personal to the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of any other person or entity. Nothing here should be construed or relied upon as investment, legal, tax, or other advice. Thanks for listening to Good Game. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next week.